All right, you guys ready to start? All right, so there's 4 men on the Titanic when it hits the iceberg. The waiter says, we need to get to the lifeboat boats. The teacher says, what about the kids? The lawyer says, fuck those kids. And the priest says, do we have time?
Oh my god.
Dang.
Welcome to Racing Home Podcast. You're joined by myself, Fez Bobber, and Nick Ageter. We also have 2 very special guests today. Would you guys like to introduce yourself? I'll start off with Evan.
Evan McLaren.
I'm the kid.
The goat.
So
No.
have...
I think you missed it. You're joking.
Oh, you're the kid. Oh, yeah. Thankfully, we don't have a priest here.
Evan's the priest, and I am the kid.
Oh, dang.
Completely over my head.
Dang.
I thought I was being so funny there.
I think it went over all of our heads. I don't know if it counts. But the people listening probably laughed. It's okay, James. So we have James Houghton, Jimmy Houghton, Time Attack, potential legend, or is a legend, and Evan McLaren.
I think he's already a legend.
Dude, he's becoming a legend.
I've spent a legendary amount of money over the years. That's about it.
That makes you a legend. And then we have Evan McLaren becoming a ClubTR legend here this year. The chance of taking the championship. So we have 2 very competitive championship contenders for ClubTR on board. Today we'll be discussing how ClubTR is doing and where ClubTR is going. But before we get into that, Evan, you want to give us a background on you, your build, and how you got started?
Oh man. So I've had the car for this particular shell for maybe 6 or 7 years. I've had an Integra for probably 10 or so. Started out just kind of as like a street car, like not really show car, but more of like, just a fun, clean build that I, was posted on Instagram and forums and stuff like that, and didn't really start tracking it until 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I did like a handful of like Track Night America events in 2020, and then it wasn't until 2021 that I started doing stuff with Grid Life, and that's where I met you, Fez, right at the end of 2021. We did the Midwest Fest there, like end of the year. That was like the first competitive event I'd actually done. So it's just kind of been progressing since then.
So was that your first time tracking, or were you tracking before the Integra too?
No, I started with the Integra. Yeah, like the Integra preceded like my track experience. Like I had that car for a while and just kind of built it. I K-swapped and everything, and it was just kind of like a street car, just pretty mild, just wasn't like, I guess it could be like HPD capable at the time, but then it, once I started tracking it and started competing in ClubTR, that's kind of when it like, snowballed.
Yeah. For those listening, Evan and I kind of started Grid Life around the same time. We were fairly close to each other pretty much throughout the years until recently when you went full E85, and now I just can't hang at all. So you're just clapping cheeks. But yeah,
that first event we were like hundredths of a second apart, right? Like it was tight back in like, what was it, like 8th or 9th place? Like
yeah,
that was fun, dude.
Last year you beat me at Mido by like a 300ths, no, not even hundreds, like a thousandths of a second or something like that.
Well, yeah, in the sprint, but like I think overall for the event you had me by a few tenths or something like that. So
sprint is what counts, man.
I think we should just interject here for a second. What was your time at Mid Ohio last year?
36.6, 36.7, something like that.
What was your time this year?
34.08.
Yeah.
Big drop.
listeners,
huge improvement.
That's serious. That's
repave, baby. Get that cheater repave.
I don't know if the repave was that good.
No, I don't. I mean, it's really hard to tell because I think my memory from like, years past is always kind of cloudy because I only go there like once a year. You know what I mean? So it's hard to tell what, the surface grip and everything really compares because, I'm sure people that go there frequently could really like, get real like granular with the comparison. But me, I'm just like, I feel like every time I go to a track once a year for Grid Life, I'm just learning it all over again. So it wasn't really for like, like the sim practice and stuff over the winter. I think it's probably what attributed most to like any sort of like progression or lap times or anything at that track, especially because I was like grinding out on the sim like all winter long there, like Lime Rock, Assetto Corsa at CMP, stuff like that. So every time I get to a track, I'm just trying to like figure it out all over again, I feel like.
I think that if you look at GLTC times from last year, you'll see that like max a half a second. Like, I really don't think there was any more than a half a second in that repave. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid for sure.
Like, GLTC usually, like, when you look at GLTC the last 3 years at Gingerman, for example, it's like within a couple tenths. Yeah. And other than that weird bonsai lap I did on race 3, everything was really in GLTC. Everything was really, really close to again from last year, basically. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. The track was weird though this year. It was temperamental in a way, right? Like it was the tires were skipping at random corners. My car felt very understeery there. I don't know about y'all's until like there's a lot of setup issues that I was dealing with again, but that could be from previous things too. But the track was different, and then until I think the weather got kind of better and it started getting faster, or the tires got like bettered into the track. I don't know. Did anyone else feel that?
Yeah, I feel like it got rubbered up like after like into Saturday. I missed Saturday morning session. That was the one that almost got rained out and then kind of dried up, right? It was Saturday morning. So there was like a whole 24-hour period where I wasn't even like in the car, and then got out Saturday evening. And Jim was like, yo, just it's good. It's perfect right now. Like, just go run your fastest laps of the weekend, like right now, like do it. So I kind of like got in my head that I'm like, all right, I guess I got to throw down.
And you did it.
That session, yeah, I mean, I somehow pulled it out of my ass, but it's just like, I don't know. It was kind of hard for me to tell like if it was actually better or not, because I feel like I was still like figuring things out up until that point. You know what I mean? Like traffic management all Friday was kind of crazy. But then like, once I got into that Saturday session, I was kind of like just trying to like trust the grip that it was there, just telling myself like, okay, it's there, without really like having actual confidence in it. I feel like that, like, the weird grip and the weird surface for a lot of people kind of shook people's confidence, whether like, the grip was there or not. I feel like it was, but I feel like just like the tactile feel of it with the tires just threw a lot of people off.
I think it showed. Sorry, guys, go ahead.
No, you're good.
No,
go ahead.
I think it showed a lot of people, and there was some people in GLTC complaining of setup issues and tire issues and all these things. And I think that if you could drive it underneath that chatter, but really close to the chatter, there was actually a ton of grip there. But I think there was a lot of people that were driving into the chatter, and man, I saw some different tires in GLTC look real ugly.
Oh, really?
And I think some of them were just tearing tires apart, and I think that some of that was driving through the chatter, and you can't do that on a track surface like that.
Yeah, because once like skips, it's probably just gonna like chunk and tear once it like like grips and lets go and grips and lets go.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe that was an aspect that like kind of played in my favor, because like I know I tend to maybe drive slightly under the limit, like kind of everywhere, just as my own natural habit and like lack of driver progression, I guess. So maybe at that track with that surface and the way it was, it might have like played in my favor, and so I'm like not pushing through the slip angle and actually kind of driving with like less slip angle than some people. I don't know, but and then
guys over
here going 34.08 in ClubTR, and it's like kind of hard on himself, but it's driving still.
Dude, Evan, it is so modest about himself. This man over here, no one actually said how his records have been going this season, but he's literally gotten first place at the past 3 events at CMP, Midwest Fest, and Mid-Ohio. And at Mid-Ohio, that was a front-wheel drive track record.
I don't know if he's being humble or if he's like saying that he has more in it, because he said that he got first place, got the record, and he's like, yeah, I was just underdriving the car, no biggie.
I mean, all right. You guys, fair enough.
Hey, by the way, so we heard about Evan's beginnings, but we never actually heard about James' beginning.
That's right. So that was the next question. James, you've been in Time Attack for a very long time. A lot of people look up to you and were very concerned that you're joining ClubTR full time this year. So give us a background on why people were doing that and how long have you been Time Attack? What got you started?
I'm gonna see if I can do it all in 5 minutes because this could be a whole podcast if I'm not. Uncle took me to my first track day in a Taurus SHO in 2000. I was 16 at the time. I'm a bit old now. Sorry, it's depressing. Anyways, I did not do a track day again for 7 years, and then in 2007 I started getting into it pretty heavy again, doing quite a few track days with first an EG B18 swapped, and then an STI, and then I did an odd Time Attack event here and there, but nothing really, like no real effort put in until 2010 with my Type R. And then 2010 to 2019 just literally looks like a line of, progression of money spent, effort spent, and like lap time and amount of amount of events gone to. And it went from a B series street tire car to a spaceship in, I guess, 9 seasons. Sold the car at the end of 19, bought the TSX for JLTC, raced one event in 2020, won. COVID, didn't race again until 2022. Won our first race back after not being there for 2 years, blew the engine. And it's been like, man, JLTC is hard. I've done a lot of stuff in my life. I've done oval track racing. I've done ice racing. I've done rallycross. I've done a lot of stuff. And man, GLTC is real hard.
You'd say GLTC is the hardest event to compete at because of the competition or because of just the
level of car prep, the level of drivers, the level of everything. Everything has been real hard. And then I met Evan at Mid-Ohio. And I have never been so flabbergasted in my entire life. No, I'm straight up. This is not patting Evan in the back. This is not trying to get him on his back foot and nervous for Lime Rock. Maybe 1%, but not actually.
No, 100%.
Seriously, when I did the 25, whatever, 34, 25, 27, sorry, you did the 25, Saturday afternoon at Mid-Ohio, and I came in, and no one was, like, pumped about it, and I was like, why is no one pumped? And they're like, Evan just did a 25. And I'm like, you mean a 35-25? And they're like, no, a 34-25. And I had just put a really solid lap together. Not perfect in keyhole, all of it everywhere else.
Dude, I really want to see these laps. Like, you got to get Josh to like get you that footage somehow because I really want to see him.
I'm just telling you that it was a lot everywhere. Like,
I'm sure
that car could probably be a little bit better as far as ride height. Maybe lower and stiffer or something. I don't really like how much it picks up the inside rear wheel sometimes. But like power, gearing, shifts, braking, I felt like all of that was everything that I had available to me. And when they're like, I was so sure that he was meaning 35-25, and they were just like getting nervous that you were getting close. And they were like, nah. I was like, all right. And I went out the next morning and did the 1 something, 1719. I think I did a 17 and a 19. And I could just feel it in my bones that wasn't enough. I was like, if Evan did that few of laps, on a Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, cool temps, there's no way he's not improved. Like, last year I might have thought maybe he's going to be like in his head or something like that. This year, I'm like, the guy is rock solid. If he did that 34-25 yesterday, he's gone an O for sure. When we came in, you had done an O. That 16 or 17 popped up on my timer. I did not have 1 ounce of happiness because I knew it wasn't enough. I just knew it wasn't enough.
Real quick, by the way, I'm going to step away. Y'all keep talking. I need to go to the kitchen for the oven timer.
Oh, shit.
No problem.
Okay. Go ahead, guys.
I mean, we both dropped a couple tenths like in that morning session, right? Like I don't even remember.
You dropped 2, I dropped 1.
Okay.
That was it.
I remember like ecstatic over the 34-2 and at Saturday evening, because I was like, I knew coming out of what was it, Friday afternoon or Friday evening, that last session, I had run 35-1, and then I had like messed up a bunch in the back of the track, like Thunder Valley mostly. And I had ran a 35-1, and then that immediate next lap, I came up on Peter, and then he got out of the way just in time to not really hold me up. But then I kind of like had my rhythm all screwed up through like 6 through 9, and like I had like 5 greens on the aim, so I was like, all right, I'm up like half a second. I'm gonna match James' time, and then I blew it, and I was like, shit. And that was the last lap of that session. So all night I'm like doing in my head, like, all right, like the lap's there, I can at least get that like that 0.6 or whatever you had done. And I was like, all right, cool. And then you came out and did a 0.4 the next morning, and I skipped that session, and I was like, fuck, like I just blew it, like I lost my opportunity, right? And then it was like that last session Saturday night, I was like, okay, like I know there's at least, 0.5, 0.6 on the table if I can just string it all together, right? And then when I saw the lap time, like 0.2, because that was 9 tenths improvement from Friday evening. I was like in the car, like losing my shit. I was like, I don't really like get hyped on like seeing a lap time on the aim all that often, but I was like literally like fist pumping in the car. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe like I see this lap time. And then like I get out of the car and I look at the freaking at Race Hero, and I was like, oh my god, like it's that close. This is insane. Like I was losing it. And then like you came up to the paddock spot and was just like, you were hyped, I was hyped. That was like just like the craziest moment for me. Just like, I don't know, it was just wild.
I'll say that Josh was real bummed after Gingerman about how all that worked out, just like the whole situation,
Yeah,
right?
same.
And Josh was pumped on Saturday night.
That's awesome.
That's like there was no negative at all. He's like, we'll just go out, we'll do the best we can tomorrow morning, and that's it. But like, no negativity at all. He was bummed on, for a week after Gingerman, because
yeah,
I felt like there was solidly 37s in it at Gingerman, and I felt like I had saved a little bit, hoping to really put it down in the finals. And for that to shake out the way it is, I mean, it is what it is. And, it's not in vain if we move forward and move towards improvements and stuff like that. And I think they put something in the rules. So if there's any weather on the horizon, they'll probably run them all together next time.
Yeah, they should. I think our chewing Abe's ear off might have had a benefit there, but
I don't think it did at all, because Abe says that he still doesn't like it, and even after the rule, I think is in the process of being changed, so it's kind of funny. Sorry, Abe.
I think Abe hates us all, like secretly just hates everyone. Like you bunch of barbarians.
The most I hate to say that I underestimated you, and it wasn't like in a negative way. It was just in a like, at CMP, I felt like we were having those crank trigger issues there. I put a lap together in the afternoon when the track felt terrible and was able to get a good lap time still. And then at Gingerman, we had a little bit of a pace advantage there as well. So I was like, all right. And I never felt like I had absolutely put like a lap that I was real proud of in. The 38-0 at Gingerman, I was like not unhappy about, but I didn't feel like, man, that was wild. Right. And even that 34-4, whatever that you had mentioned on Saturday morning, I was like, pretty good lap.
Yeah.
Came in like feeling very like no pressure, like feeling like that was a good lap. And then, when we went 34-2 and I was looking for the response in the guys' faces, I was like, really? Like,
what the hell's going on here?
Excuse me, sorry guys. So no, I me, Evan, I'm not here to bullshit anyone, right? So like, I'm not gonna say that you didn't underestimate I didn't underestimate you if I did. and I'm not going to say I'm not impressed with your time if I am. You know what I mean? So I'm going to give it to you both directions. If you flabbergast me with your lap time, I'm going to tell you. And if I didn't think you had it in you, I'm not even necessarily think I didn't have it. Think you have it in you yourself, but I didn't know that the whole package had that much potential.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I haven't really like put the car, I guess, that close to its own potential, like up until now. And I mean, I think in Mid Ohio, I kind of maybe surprised myself, honestly, because I'm used to being like the what was it, the back of the front pack crown that you guys gave me like last year or the year before or whatever. Yeah, you guys were having like the mid pack king, and they were like, oh, McLaren's like the back of the front pack king. It's like, I don't know. So it's still just kind of like, it's foreign to me to think that like now I'm running at the front this year. You know what I mean? And I don't really know what kind of, whether it was just the like incremental changes to the car or just some like pieces of like basic car control that, I might have learned over the winter on the sim, and just it all just kind of like, came together, and I was just able to, pull a little bit more out of my ass. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm surprising myself just as much as like you guys.
Yeah.
Because even at CMP, I was off, like that session you ran, whatever session you took that record in, was like the worst conditions of like the entire weekend. I think it was like a 42, something like a low 42 you ran. I had ran like a mid 42, and I'm like, all right, the track's getting worse. The drifters are like tearing everything up, and I went out and I was like a second off of my own pace. And I'm like, yeah, I might have this record in the bag. Like, maybe Jim can't go any faster because the conditions are worse. And he comes out just like shits all over everybody in literally the worst session of the weekend. And I was like, fuck. Like, all right, there it is. Like, that just shows us, like how far off pace we all really are. You know what I mean? So it's just been like we've all just been chasing that since you entered the class, basically. You know what I mean? I think that type of like pace setting is just kind of like raises everybody. You know what I mean? It's good for the class. But
I've been around a lot of motorsports in my 39 years. My dad was racing oval track in the summertime and ice racing in the wintertime when I was growing up. And I've spectated a lot of stuff. I've seen IndyCar, F1, NASCAR. I've seen pretty much everything there is to see. And as a driver or a spectator, I have never been so surprised as your 34-25 Saturday afternoon at Mid Ohio. So when I say that to you, I am not tooting your horn. I literally have that same like, wow, it feels like it just happened yesterday, today still. Like I like, man, wow, like why, how did he do that? Like where did that come from? Wow, this guy is are we PG? What is our rating here?
We can do R-rated stuff. It's all good.
I've already dropped that bomb enough time.
This guy is a bad motherfucker. Like this is on another planet. I can't believe it. Well, you better be wearing a shirt at Lime Rock that says that.
I'm getting those shirts made, man.
Good. I'm gonna wear one. Does it have your face on it?
It's gonna have your face on it and have the quote underneath your face.
Perfect. And it's gonna say Evan McLaren is a bad motherfucker.
Yes, 100%.
I can't wait to wear that.
In the with our Acuity group chat, I was like, can somebody just like make the shirt? And then Eric Streeter like came up like 2 minutes later, like came up with a like an edit of like your face with the melon on your head with that quote. And I'm like, dude, he must have had that like screenshot of like that photo of you on deck just waiting to like use for something. I'm like, how did he even like come up with that so quick? But I was like, all right, let's make these.
I don't buy shirts, but I will gladly buy that shirt.
If it actually materializes, you won't have to pay for one. Don't worry.
I will gladly pay for one because I feel like the moment is worth paying for it.
So I have a couple of questions for you guys. I want to start off with, James, a question for you. A lot of people are saying that you are currently competing in GLTC and ClubTR. First of all, what made you want to do both?
So at excuse me, at Lime Rock last year, I ran Street Mod, ClubTR, and GLTC. and it gave me bad ideas about at some point coming to a Grid Life event and competing in every class. And I don't like to ask people to drive cars because I feel like it changes the expectation when you ask someone to drive their car. But if anyone ever wants to put something together, I would love to run every single time attack class and GLTC for one weekend. I don't necessarily want to do it every weekend, but I think that would be really cool to do it for one weekend. But anyways, as far as running ClubTR and GLTC at the same time, I didn't choose ClubTR. Like Josh kind of chose me, and like I say, I mean I ran Sunday Cup at the same time at CMP as well. Like I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying I will run every class at a Grid Life event. Like I am down.
What I don't understand is how are you not beat by the end of the day? Because running one class at a time is kind of can be exhausting. You're running 2 back to back.
I think the more you race and the more time you spend driving, the more time you spend simming, anything. I think you get to the point where you use less and less bandwidth to drive. And I'll use DJ Alessandrini's quote talk about bandwidth, right? And I think that comes down and down and down and down until it almost is like whatever. And I think that I've treated myself so poorly with arriving at events late and everything like that, and just hopping in a car with 0 sleep or almost no sleep, that it becomes the norm. And then it gets to the point where your body has to rely on, I don't know if muscle memory is a real thing, but stuff like that, whatever you'd call it, to the point where, you don't necessarily have to. Some people really like to sit in their car and go through a lap and stuff like that before they, and I applaud those people. I think that every single person that gets to where they are as a driver is a fantastic thing. My friend Jacob, who's on our oval iRacing team, Ryko Motorsports, he came to CMP this year, and he's a karter and a very good karter. And very good iRacer. He decided he was going to do oval stuff a year ago, and he went from no oval iRating on iRacing to 9,000 in 1 year. He is just on another level. So he, on the day before when we were driving down to CMP, said, "I just don't want to interrupt you." He's like, "I just want to know before you get in the car, are you a person that needs to be distracted? Are you a person that needs to be calm and quiet around?" And I realized halfway through the day on Friday, right before I got in the car for the first race at CMP and for GLTC, I realized I hadn't eaten anything the whole day, and I'm a fairly big eater normally. And 15 minutes before the race rolled, I ran back because we were parked really close to the hot pit, and my mom had made some lasagna, and 9 minutes to rolling, I was shoveling lasagna into my mouth as fast as I could.
Oh my God.
And Mitch is like, "Man, if Jacob could be here right now to watch this, of you deciding whether you're need to be alone or need to be distracted." And he's like, "No, this guy needs to be fed." Literally 9 minutes. I don't know if we rolled on time, but 9 minutes to when we're supposed to roll. I knew it would take me 1 minute to walk to the car. And usually I want to get in the, at the 5 minute call, I'll get in, right? And so at the 9 minute call, I am shoveling food into my mouth as fast as I can, going, "This is really delicious lasagna right now."
Yeah, well,
So
I
I
will
think
agree with you on that one. Is that I think once you do it enough, it becomes a second nature, right? You don't think about it, overthink, or you don't think as much about getting on track. It's more just you're just doing another activity in your day, right? For me, it's more of a physical aspect as well. Maybe you just need to up the physical activities and not be fat to be able to go out there over and over again, or have a better bucket seat. I don't know.
I don't know about that one, Fez. I'm no bodybuilder, that's for sure. So, do you have a part of your body that gets fatigued, or how does what is it that would you say that you feel? Is it just all your muscles? Is it what is it that you feel
Depending on the event or the track, I guess, or how I'm feeling. But usually my butt gets sore. My butt and lower back gets sore. I think from trying to hold myself into the seat. Maybe I need a smaller seat to hold me better.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking. But I don't know. Evan,
I
anything
don't know.
from you on that one? Sorry, I cut you off.
I could probably hop in and out of the car. Just I think it's more of like a mental fatigue thing for me. And then like if I get out of the car and I'm like, all right, I gotta look it over. There's some dumb issue like with my car cutting out all season long. You know what I mean? Like I always have something to do with the car that I gotta get out, diagnose or whatever. So like in between that and then hopping back in the car, if I had somebody else that could just maintain the car and I don't have to worry about that at all, like no thought, I'd hop in and out of a car like all day long until like, I passed out. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I should give a big point to that. Like, I'm lucky to have an amazing team from Jay-Z with the ClubTR car and from Unit 2 Fab with the TSX. So, I should make a big note of the fact that, I don't usually. I am a person that thinks about all the potential problems all day long, and I try to be really good with feedback to try to help diagnose anything that we have as much as I can. But I don't usually touch the car that much during an event, which I'm very, very lucky to have that. So if I was having to wrench on 7 cars in the same day, I am not signing up to run every class of Time Attack and GLTC if I have to work on all the cars. So I think that's a big asterisk beside that comment.
So second question to that. Actually, I'm going to ask Nick first. Nick, I haven't even said much. What do you think? Do you think you could do multiple classes in one weekend?
If my car keeps breaking like the way it has been, no. There's no way. But I think for me, I kind of feel the same way as Evan, where I think I could do the drive. Like already doing cross-country drives, not really all that tiring. It's really just the wrenching part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Maybe I get the opportunity.
I think when things start breaking apart and you're just trying to fix one car and then you got to hop in another car, I think that's probably would be something that would hold me back too. But going to the second question, James, there's been a lot of people that are kind of salty right now, but because people are saying that this is what kind of question is this? I forgot. Anyways, I forgot the term. But anyways, a lot of people are kind of salty that you're getting to do multiple classes in one weekend, right? And that means you're getting double the seat time. That means you're getting double the exposure, and you're going to be faster than them because you're getting double the seat time. What are your thoughts on that?
Grid Life is a business, and if you want to take your ClubTR car and run it in unlimited track mod and ClubTR, there's probably some cars that could even run in street mod as well, I would think. It's a business at the end of the day, so I think that that would be a hard thing to say no to. I understand it, but especially being the fact that usually it's one time attack class and one wheel to wheel class. I don't know really what to say about it. I think that if I was not at the pointy end, probably no one would care.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If I wasn't running GLTC and I was doing the same thing in ClubTR, would people care? I don't know. The ClubTR car went 34.8 the first lap of the weekend on an hour and a half sleep. I hadn't driven the TSX yet. So
yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to be a piece
laying
of shit,
it out there on the table.
I hadn't slept, I hadn't ate, I hadn't driven the TSX yet, and it went 34.8. So I don't know. Would 34.8 still have put me in? Would that still have been P2 on the weekend?
That would have still been P2.
Yep.
So I should have just ran 3 laps, put it back in the trailer, and said, "Well, that's not going to change anything because Evan's going to be a bad motherfucker on Sunday morning."
Yeah, you should just save yourself the headache, man. All the work.
Man, I did a lot of flyers. I did a lot of flyers in that car on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Could have done 3.
Could have done 3 and been home.
Man. Yep.
Evan, you and I have kind of talked about this. What's up?
The only thing I was going to add to that answer, I know it was intended for James, but from my viewpoint, it's like I think it's totally fine if the rule book allows it. It's like any rule on a car. If it allows drivers to compete in multiple classes, then it's not on James. It's on the organizers if they need to change anything. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
If they have to wait for me or something like that, or if anything, any position goes in where other people are having a negative part, I would feel, I would say absolutely, like, that's a totally different thing.
Right.
But I think as long as I don't affect anyone else's weekend, and Grid Life receive 2 full entry fees, I have a hard time with worrying about it too much.
Right, especially considering that the week leading up to every event, there's people trying to unload tickets, and I know for Mid Ohio specifically, there was a friend of ours that couldn't even sell his ticket last minute. Like there was just no one wanted to buy it. So I mean, that's like kind of a moot point. And like to be fair about saying that a lot of people are up in arms about it, I think there was literally like one single person, not going to name any names, but there was one single person that I saw that like voiced a negative opinion about it. And I was just like, all right, like let's be real here. It's not really that big of a deal.
I've
The
heard
other
it for,
thing that, sorry, go ahead,
guys.
Des.
I've heard it from multiple people, and I think I am in the same boat as you guys. Like, Grid Life is a business, and if they sell 2 tickets and a person wants to do 2 events, they can do 2 events. 2 classes, they can do 2 classes. Like, it's not really. I don't think you're gaining any more advantage by doing 2 classes, James, because you have enough experience to not give a shit about that.
Yeah,
I don't think that like I get anything than dehydration when I drive 2 or 3 cars in a weekend. Like seriously, I'm not good at looking after myself during the day. So the TSX and the CSX are probably close enough that it probably actually. I know I've said before, but like thinking about it sitting right here now, probably how close they are and how different they are is probably worse than if they were more different. Because those cars are so similar in every way, but they both have like the brakes feel a little bit different. They both have different shifter boxes. They both have different seating positions. They both have different tire sizes. They both have different power to weights. Like, they both have the same tire but different sizes. Like one has a splitter and wing, one doesn't. Like what an interesting thing. Like it feels like the same car but not the same car.
Yeah, it's like nuance at that point. Whereas if it was like drastically different, you might be able to like learn something from like one from the other, but you're driving something that's so different or so similar that it's almost like you're just driving the same thing twice. I mean, I guess you're still getting seat time, but
like the gearing is a little bit different. So like the gears are all like slightly different. Well, so like on the CSX going into 11 and 1, I can keep it in 4th. In the TSX, it's up to 5th and back to 4th. So there's like so many little nuances that are, if I had my way with it, I would try to get some of those little things even closer so you could drive it kind of the same way. Like CSX doesn't have ABS, TSX does have ABS. Like all these little things are, quite different. Like the CSX is a very vertical, very forward seating position. The TSX, I'm like sitting on the floor and like fairly far back. It doesn't, in some ways, yes, it's seat time, but it's in other ways, it's, probably somewhat not in the direction that you necessarily want to go.
Yeah.
But
do you
I'd say to anyone, I respect everyone that gets to Grid Life no matter what, how they get there, whether it be an open trailer or a stacker or anything. I think that it's fantastic that people can go. But I think that if anyone is going to a Grid Life event and concerned about not getting enough seat time, if you can afford to go to a Grid Life event, you can probably afford the, what was it, $425 for an advanced HPD ticket at Mid-Ohio?
Yep.
Somewhere around there.
So if you really want more seat time, you could have more seat time for maybe the price of just your tow vehicle fuel to the event and back.
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
If you're coming to compete, you shouldn't be worried about seat time. You should be worried about competition.
I agree.
Think that's
Yeah,
if you want
100%.
seat time, then just stick with HPDE if you just want seat time. I think there's a lot of people that had concerns for Grid Life going to the podium sprint format and saying that they wouldn't get enough seat time. And I'm like, well, the seat time, stick to HPDE then. That's kind of what you're aiming towards.
Yep.
We come for the competition. We want good competition. We want competition that can help us get faster. Like U2, for example, like 34s going back and forth. That makes the event fun for us, right? But yeah, cool. So, second question, leading into the state of ClubTR. What car do you guys think is what car is the rules really suited for? Like, if you were to rebuild a car right now to be at the pointy end, what car would you build and how would you build it? And do you think there's a chance for other cars? Because right now it's Hondas, for example. Like front-wheel drive Hondas are the way it's going. Do you think there's any other car that could kind of come up that's not a front-wheel drive Honda and compete?
Absolutely. But I'll let you go first if you want, Evan. But I'm ready if you're not ready.
I don't really. I've tried to think about it. And I have like an idea of what I could think could be a ringer, but like I don't. It's just all depends on who's willing to go to like 11/10 with the build and prep. You know what I mean? You can like a Miata. You know what I mean? Like we haven't really seen one of those come out really built to the limit of the rules at min weight and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? I don't think these old front wheel drive soda cans are really like maybe everything that we're making them seem like they actually are. I don't know, but we do have our advantages, but then we have our disadvantages. So I think a good driver in a car that's rear wheel drive that can put 255s all around, has a better weight distribution, could have a higher ceiling than the shit boxes that we're driving. I mean, for you guys, like it's hard because you guys have newer vehicles. They're a little bit heavier. It takes a lot to strip weight out of. I get that. There's like who's got their BRZ to min weight? Jeremy, and that's it.
Jeremy, Bailey, and Peter's pretty close too.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at Peter's data, his straight line speed is basically dead even with mine. So like he's there basically. You know what I mean? It's just.
What was his top speeds?
Like 1 mile an hour less, and it was all just because of like the exit from keyhole. Like if you look at the data, it's just how he like drove the keyhole, which was like he lost tenths down the back straight just because of his strategy there. That really was all it is. Like he's
did he keep it tighter? He kept it tighter instead of diamonding it, or what did he do?
Yeah, he hangs out at min speed for a while. Like he has a higher min speed, but he hangs out at min speed too long instead of diming it, committing the full throttle as early as possible. So the longer he waits to get back to full throttle, it hurts him exponentially all the way down the straight. But then like his acceleration trace, like the ramp angle, is like dead even parallel with mine. And I was behind him like multiple laps, I think 2 different sessions, and I was not catching him in a straight line. So, I think those cars, like, I don't know what his makes at the wheel. I don't know what, if we dynoed on the same dyno, same day, same conditions or whatever, how the wheel horsepower would match up. But like his seems like it has, pretty good straight line capabilities. I don't know about Jeremy's. His was hard. I was behind him once and it was kind of hard to tell.
Yeah.
But
Jeremy has an FA24. Peter has a K24.
Right.
I think they're pretty dead even in terms of power in a rear wheel drive car. FA24 should have a little bit more torque. But the K24 has more top end horsepower. So it's interesting that he said that he was like maybe a mile off of you, because I was like 5 or 6 miles off of you. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. But I'm also heavier, so that's probably it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's worth a lot.
Yeah. I know Matt Williams, he had the FCRX7 at 1.2. That was a killer combo. I think he was making like 270 a wheel or something like that.
Oh yeah, the thing's turbo too. I'd love to see that thing come back out, get back, fixed and come back out.
Do you know if Eric is trying to get that car back out there eventually?
He actually seemed like he would be willing to let it go, but he's also, I think he's like half and half in with it on like a friend. So it's, kind of like a joint decision, but I'm not really sure what his future plans are for it. That's kind of a shame. I was really hoping to see that thing like actually, go like a full season and see what the potential of it was, but transmissions do transmission things, I guess.
Yep. What about you, James? What are your thoughts?
Are you ready for this?
I'm
ready. Ready? Okay. NSX, K-swap.
Oh.
Extreme weight reduction to the absolute maximum allowed, which I think would end up with a car that's probably somewhere around 2,100 pounds. And then an extremely, extremely heavy lithium battery and no alternator. electric water pump, electric power steering, no accessories on the engine at all.
That sounds so expensive.
Lithium batteries in the RV world are very different than in the automotive world.
I'm talking about the car. And buying an NSX like 80 grand right now.
Talking about money when we were literally just shoveling wheelbarrows full of money into a fire is like, whatever. There has to be a cheap shit NSX somewhere in the world.
True.
There has to be one that's burnt or wrecked or something. No interior, no engine, no trans. There has to be a beat, hail damaged roller somewhere. Also, I'm not building it anyways. You asked what my exciting thing is.
That is true. I think in general, mid-engined car can have potential, like an MR2, a K-swapped MR2, or K-swapped Exige or Elise. Would that be allowed? Elise?
Why not?
Yeah.
That would be, yeah. So I think those can have a lot of potential too.
I think that the characteristics of an NSX, like, they just seem to like have a lot of stability.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like when you see a lot of Lotus videos, they just look like twitchy, hard to drive cars. And I just think of that. I think of that NSX, and I think about maybe a 15-inch wheel on the front, maybe a 15x10 with a 245 4015 with the thing like absolutely on the ground,
slammed,
just on the ground, like no air dam, like front bumper 3 inches off the ground.
Damn.
Tell me why not?
I'm with it.
Yeah,
I don't know why that chassis never crossed my mind for some reason. Like being a Honda aficionado, and I never thought about downsizing displacement on an NSX and running that thing at like no min weight. Like that would be insane.
Oh my god, I never thought about that. Are you saying that if you downsize the engine, there's no min weight?
No.
The only time min weight is only applicable to increased displacement.
What? Okay, never mind. I don't know if the lithium still applies. I might what?
You could run that car. You could run that car as light as one.
I feel like I just Saturday at Mid Ohio just happened again. I didn't realize. So if you had a really light driver, you could have a potentially like 2,250 pound ClubTR NSX.
Yep. If you can make that happen.
What? And then I would buy every size Kinsler ITB and test what size ITBs make the most power on a stock engine. I would buy every set. And then I would rev it the highest anyone has ever. I would bring 4 motors and I would rev at 9,500 RPMs.
Just swap between every session when they blow.
I'm a broken human being. You don't want to be near me. Adam Jabay always says, if you ever win the lottery, you're not allowed to come to Grid Life because you'll wreck everything.
That sounds like a very interesting build. I was not expecting that answer, but I'm really glad you said it because I don't think anyone ever thought about an NSX and ClubTR.
I want to drive it under my monitors right now here. I want it to be that low. I want to just drive it right under the side of my monitor here.
Yeah. Realistically, I will say I think NC Miata with the K-swap right now is looking like it can be a good competitor. It's like it's easy to hit 2550 with that car. It'll make roughly the same power as like Peter, so 220, 230. I don't know what he's making. I think that could be a good competitor, but we haven't seen one yet. I know one guy is coming with a Mike Bryant. He is partnering up with K-Power to swap that car. He'll be at Road America, so that'd be a good competitor to look out for. I don't know if the 8.6 with an FA24 necessarily is an answer unless I can take like a ton of weight out. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you think the 8.6 has a chance at championships?
I'm currently seeing what the cheapest NSX is in North America.
Okay. He's distracted.
I'm broken.
We lost James.
Yeah. You know, I'm here, but I think that this is a valid conversation point.
It is?
Like, what if it's cheaper than we think?
I'm kind of curious now too. Hold
I mean, you don't want one that's wrecked, right? Because they're aluminum chassis, they're like aluminum unibodies, so they're like probably anything that's wrecked is probably tweaked.
Wasn't there like
have you ever seen
burnt to Chris NSX that was for sale for like $20,000 recently?
I don't know.
Evan, have you ever seen a Unit 2 Fab Elite oil pan before? You think that an aluminum car can't be fixed? Have you seen those things?
Fair point. The entire shell is a big TIG weld.
Come on now. Price lowest. Let's go.
Mitch can handle it.
Okay, cheapest NSX ever sold was $27,000.
It's cheaper than that because the owner of Technotic in Canada bought his for really inexpensive. It needed a lot of work, but it was a driver when he got it, but that was in 2011.
Oh, sorry. That was from 2020 to now. But there was
really?
one.
So
20 years in the river. This car has been sitting in the river for 20 years.
Sitting in the river?
Yep.
Water.
It's been sitting in the water. It's a project. His car was sold for $8,500 in 2023. I'll put a link in the chat.
Oh wait, I remember seeing like an Instagram post on that or something. It was like completely like moss covered.
There's no beat ones, okay, but there must be beat ones because here is a beautiful black 91 polished wheels, 67,000 miles. This is like making me feel things right now. So if this one is 60 grand, like there has to be like how much is a beat one with an auto trans worth? Like that can't be worth any money.
Are cars cheaper in Canada?
What's that?
Are cars cheaper in Canada?
It depends on the situation.
I found a 1990s. By the way, I found a 1990 automatic NSX with the rear end ripped out because of an accident, and it's still 85,000.
That doesn't make sense because this absolutely triple mint 91 is
hold on, I'm reading this wrong.
59 grand. So that must be just like
he just threw a number in there, hoping for something. I just went to Copart.
59.9 here, right? Like, what do you 59.9? So there must be ones out there for 30 grand. And if you can buy one for 30 grand, like, yes, it's an NSX. You spent 30 grand on a shell, but like that car is probably better on stock suspension than most cars are with coilovers.
Probably.
So, like, are you going to not buy things that you'd buy for another car that you maybe don't need to buy for this? Like, are you going to buy sway bars and this and that and everything else, right? Like, maybe you don't buy as many of those things. I think weren't these cars spherical from this factory, if I remember correctly.
I don't even know.
I don't think these cars had rubber bushings.
Oh,
NSX breaks ClubTR for sure.
Amir is selling his K20R powered Exige recently.
I saw that.
It would have to be de-turboed.
I think would have to be determined.
Or you drive it with the turbo and be like, I don't care about ClubTR anymore. This is awesome.
Track mod to you.
Yeah. I wonder what he's going to ask for that, but I'm too scared to ask.
I think his NSX was originally like pretty cheap when he bought that. Like I think it was like clapped out or like wrecked or something like that.
I remember something about that as well.
He like chopped that thing all up, but
so all this conversation has told me that Honda is the answer. No matter what, one way, shape, or form, you have to have a Honda powered car.
What about a K-Swap C6 Z06?
Oh my god!
Like I'm not like ridiculous. No, but actually, like why not? 255 4018 in the rear, 255 3518 in the front.
People will come out with the pitchforks at you if you did that.
I encourage the pitchforks.
How light can you get that car?
I mean, they're like 3,000 pounds normally with an LS7 in it.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, I think it's like 200 pounds off the nose. When you could do a K24 swap.
I think the car would be good enough that car could compete at 2,750. Call me a liar. That car, all Lexan, all carbon, whatever is allowed to be carbon, no dash, etc. I guess it has to have a dash, some part of a dash, no airbags, no heavy seats, no radio, no this, no that. How light is Ferris's car? Ferris's car is like 27 something with turbos and giant wheels and tires on it. Like, how much does that weigh? No turbos, and you know, a fairly light 4-cylinder.
I mean, the 4-cylinder alone is like 200 pounds.
Yeah, and then you take two turbos, 2 wastegates, the big rear rad off of it, the big wing, the big splitter, the 13-inch wheels, etc., etc. I bet you get closer than you think. When it would be sitting there on the scales, it would be closer than you think.
Yeah.
This is going to be the podcast episode that breaks ClubTR next year.
I encourage it.
Someone's going to do it. James is going to win the lottery and do it. We're going to buy lottery tickets for James to make it happen.
You don't even want to know you don't even want to know the conversations that I've had with Adam. I was like, man, if I won Powerball, I'm having cars made. I'm having homologation cars made for ClubTR, and they're all going to have 2.4 liter V8, like 2010 era F1 engines in them.
Oh my god.
Because that'll be allowed, right?
2.4, baby, 800 horsepower.
They don't dictate like cylinders; they just 2.4 liters.
No,
you go by engine displacement.
Doesn't it say like? Isn't there something about the engine has to be?
That's
like,
how you get
available?
banned from ClubTR.
Yeah, no, but you missed that, Evan. I'm gonna have homologation cars made. I'm gonna build 500 of them.
Oh, okay, widely.
Like, I'm gonna build 500 cars with these. They'd probably be like, if you started building like an FRS with a 2.4 liter 800 horsepower F1 engine in it, people would buy those. Like, you would sell 495 and F5 ready to go from ClubTR, no problem.
I mean, they made VR Cup cars, and they don't have any more than stock horsepower, and they sold every single one of them.
Damn.
I mean, this car is going to be $1 million a piece, but I think they'd buy them.
Yeah. So what are y'all's thoughts on the way that ClubTR is going? What do you guys think the future holds for ClubTR? And what does the future hold for you guys in ClubTR?
I don't know.
Good answer.
Are you going to compete next year in ClubTR, Evan?
It's kind of up in the air. I'm not entirely sure. It's looking grim.
James?
Josh has the goals of renting cars for GLTC or endurance racing at some point, and somewhat has the plan of having that as a rental race car, and that car prep for GLTC would probably be an immediate front running car. So if anyone is interested in running that car in GLTC in the future, definitely reach out to me, or I can put you in touch with Josh, because I think that is the plan for that car for the future. And I think that the second place that was probably going to end up as a third or a fourth in race 3 at Gingerman is not a good idea of what that car really has potential for in GLTC. That was like what we could do in 25 minutes. But we were paying at 2% for flat power. We were paying 5% for splitter and wing that I wouldn't pay for on that car. The tires were undersized for the weight of it. So I think that car, with just almost no prep work at all, would be absolutely, no question, a top 5 GLTC car. So if anyone's listening, keep that in mind.
So Evan, your chances are looking grim. James, your car's being turned into a GLTC rental car. Sounds like you guys are both almost out of it for next year.
We'll see.
So Fez,
you never know.
There's a chance for you, Fez. At a podium.
I gotta keep going.
Now there's no excuses.
Gotcha. So what do you guys think about ClubTR as a class? Final thoughts.
If I had to, if I ever decide to retire from GLTC, because GLTC is in ClubTR, you can have a problem in one session and your weekend is not over. Like, obviously Evan at Mid Ohio. If something like that happens in GLTC, your weekend is kind of over, and that is hard mentally. Everything like that, hard on the team, hard on sponsors, everything. if I ever decide to step away from GLTC, I would very much like to still take part in ClubTR, or run a Cayman in street, either with a really angry 4-cylinder turbo, or if I had unlimited money, maybe with a GT4 RS swapped regular Cayman, which is currently legal for the street class rules, with GT4 RS Aero, which is also currently legal for the street class rules. And then
GT4 RS replica Aero.
Yeah, and then just never lose an event ever again for the rest of the time.
Again, if James won the lottery, this is what he would do.
85 tune and MTS two-way adjustable coilovers on that Cayman as well.
Did you know that you're allowed to build an NA motor in street?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to like, if you go to, what's that place? Who's the smoking tire? I can't think of his name right now. Matt, if you go to that company that did his Cayman or Boxster's engine, what is the name of that company? You know those guys?
I think Dundon. Did they do that? Or
no,
someone else?
It was a different one. I can't think of the name, but they like take the car and they do the suspension and they do the engine and everything like that. If you take them,
re-gear the car and everything.
Yeah, and like built the engine. If you take them a GT4 RS and say, "Here's $100,000. Here's just the engine. I want to make as much power as you can. This doesn't have to be a street car. It can be an absolute nasty thing." How much power are they going to make? Like, what are they already? They're already 520 crank. What are they going to make if you say, "Have fun, boys"? Like, is it going to make 600 wheel? Is it going to make 600 wheel in a replica GT4 RS in the street?
Potentially could. So yeah, Matt Ferris, it was built by Demon Motorsports. I'm not pronouncing that right, but it makes 565 horsepower. Naturally aspirated.
At the wheels?
And it's like a perfect street. I think it's at the crank. I'm pretty sure that's at
Probably
the crank. But still, it makes way more torque. It's a 4.5 liter. And it's like a perfect street car. So what if you tell them this doesn't need to idle below 2,000 RPMs and it can run on E85 only? Nasty.
Yeah, no, it was on a dyno.
Really?
565 horsepower on the dyno, 440 pound-feet of torque.
Again, so over if you give them creative, courtesy on that, over 600 wheel for a street class car. Be afraid, people. Be afraid.
Yep.
I feel like all these ideas are a way to get banned from the class, or like the rules will be written against you the next year.
You could also do that. You could also do that with a 997, 911 base and turn it into a GT3 RS.
Yeah.
So, and in street on a 285, they make. I think Nankang make like a 285. 30-20 or something like that, or something tall that would be great for the back of a 911. So I've got my tire sizes and everything all planned out already for my car that I'll never be able to afford and never want to build anyways.
Until you win the lottery.
Yeah.
Or just the flash and the downpipe on the 4-cylinder turbo Cayman. That's probably like still a pretty strong street class car, I would think.
They can make about 450 wheel with the downpipe flashing 85.
Yep.
Sounds pretty spicy. Not 600 wheel horsepower spicy, but pretty spicy.
Spicy indeed.
Yeah, because that's about like what Brad Moores came into doing when he was at Mid-Ohio and Midwest Fest. He's got that done.
That would be strong, I would think.
Yep. Goodness.
So another question. I think it was 2 years ago or a year ago, I was at Heartland Motorsports Park and someone came up to me and they're like kind of upset that the front runners were cheating in ClubTR. They said that they're not at midweight and they're running cams and whatnot. And I was like, that's not true. So just to kind of clarify that, Evan, how much power are you making and what's your minimum weight? Or what weight is your car?
So I rolled across the scales at Midwest Fest at 2611, and that was with a half tank of fuel and me in the car. Without the passenger seat, like I ran at Mid-Ohio, that's another 25 pounds out of the car. So still over min weight. It dynoed on the hub dyno that I get tuned on, which, however that compares to, a dyno jet or Grid Life's dyno jet.
Wait,
I
what did
came
you
in
say
at
again?
249 flat. 249.
249?
Yeah, what was it 249.9 or something like that? Almost 250 flat on the hub dyno. So
Impressive.
I don't know, probably 235-ish, 240 on Grid Life dyno. Just guessing.
Impressive. James, what about you?
I would be surprised if it could hit 240 on Grid Life dyno, just from my
Probably
experience. I would say that 235, 236 could be realistic, but man, that would be the Jay-Z car made 232 on Grid Life's dyno, and that was the highest K24 stock long block K24 that Eric Levine Motorsports has ever had on his dyno by a significant margin.
I made like 260 something, right, on his
260,
dyno?
262 and change on his dyno. And for example, my car, my TSX, now it might have a bit of extra dyno loss from the big tires, the 315s, but 12.5 to 1 compression, 2-liter head, drag cartel 2.2s, springs and retainers. Maybe not as good an intake manifold, but cut and ported RBC, 82 millimeter Bosch, 4-inch intake, custom header. It's only ever made 286 on that dyno, so it's only like 24 horsepower more than that. So it's usually 30 less from Eric's dyno to the Grid Life dyno. So for you to make 240 on that dyno, you'd need to make 270 on Eric's, and oftentimes a 2.4 stock 2.4 bottom with a 2-liter head and 2.2 cams and just like whatever intake manifold and stuff like that will usually make right around like 268 to 272 or something like that on his dyno. So
okay,
I would guess yours probably, like, just from seeing your straight line speed comparative, knowing that you're a little bit lighter, I would guess that your car is probably right in the 230 to 235 range, just from me being a psychopath.
So NJMP was at 2022, the heat wave event.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that was disgusting. Disgusting.
Ben Thorne had his car like dynoed and retuned by Andy, and it made 235 or whatever in those conditions. I have his data, and he was maybe like 1 mile an hour faster, maybe 2 miles an hour faster down the front straight at Thunderbolt than I was at that time. And that was before I had E85. So I've made a little bit more power since then. My data shows that I'm making a little bit more straight line pace than I was back then. I haven't compared our data in my current data versus his data from then at that track, but I would assume that it's like probably pretty close to those numbers now. I'm wondering if the Grid Life dyno is just like getting worse. Like,
and as far as weight, I never finished weight. So 8th gen, running it absolutely out of gas might get to like 2660 sometimes, but we usually run it with a full tank or start it with a full tank. And with a full tank, it's like 2740 or something like that.
Gotcha.
Maybe no, that means it wouldn't even get to 2660. Yeah, so maybe 2680 if it's like running out when it does a lap.
Gotcha. So I'm at 2750 at half a tank, and for power wise, I'm not sure. You guys at 30 or 20 horsepower down from Eric Levine's dyno to Grid Life dyno?
30 from his.
Okay, so I'm probably around like 215 horsepower then.
All right.
215, 210.
It depends
so
get much. Like, yeah, it depends so much. Like, I would think that, like, knowing those cars and knowing the mods of those cars and stuff like that, if an F824 made 220 on that dyno, it would be strong.
Yeah, I made
230 plus on that dyno for a stock K24 is like a hell of a lot of optimization.
Gotcha. So what makes your engine different that like the CSX can make that much power?
Gotta give away secrets.
No, I mean, it's straightforward. It's got a Skunk 2 intake manifold on it. Mm-hmm. It's got a plenum spacer on the intake manifold. It's got, I know that they've tested like a bunch of different headers on that car. It's got, you know, the most minimum exhaust that you can run. It's got tuned length intake pipe, you know, like messing around with that. There's a whole bunch of power to be found in that. You know, then different motors, like different size, whether it's going to be 3.5, 4-inch. And then, you know, making sure your tuner is willing to spend every like ounce, you know, every minute to find every last ounce of time, you know, of power left in there, right? Like if there's a bump here, if there's a bump there, you know, in your fueling, you know, who gives a shit about the peak? We're trying to optimize a whole lap.
Yeah.
So if it's not perfect at 6,000 RPMs, if you gain 5 at 6 or 5 at 85, it's the same shit. So your tune better be perfect from bottom to top. And then the next part is you got to be a little bit dumb and, you know, rev your car high all the time, because if you're shifting at peak power, you're coming in way below peak power. So then you have to decide, you know, it's just a roll of the dice every time, right? Like how high are you going to rev it? How high are you going to work both sides of those peaks, or of not those peaks, of the peak?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things to think about, right? Like then the gearing on the CSX is as perfect as it can be. You know, with the final drive as short as it can be. At Mid Ohio, it was 8,500 RPMs in sixth gear going into China Beach.
Wow. So are you gonna change gearing for Road America, or are you gonna just let off throttle?
We're gonna run a 255/40 on the front instead. 255/40/18.
Gotcha.
And we probably have about, I don't know, 200 or 300 RPMs left. What we're willing to use if we need to. Otherwise, we'll just probably, you know, coast a little bit.
Yeah, because that's like a mile long straight. Will be interesting to see.
The thing is it's going to take a lot more to, as you lengthen the gear, the car is going to, you know, the car is not going to accelerate as well. So putting that taller tire is going to eat some acceleration up. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll hope for a headwind into every single straightaway.
I'll just blow on you from behind you, or I'll carry like a big fan.
I'm down. I'm down.
But yeah, no, it sounds good, guys. I know we're about an hour in at this
20.
point. So, any last minute comments before we close out the podcast? I feel like I'm ending a meeting. Well, it was great having both of you guys on here. It was great
Evan,
getting to know you guys.
I was waiting for Evan to make a last minute comment.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I got nothing.
Then I was going to make a last minute comment.
I got nothing. That's all you, Jim.
I got a last minute question.
Oh, go ahead, and then I'll go my last minute comment.
So we had a lot of talk about grid life. If grid life did not exist, what organization or racing or motorsports would you be doing instead?
Oh,
that's an easy one for me.
You'd be doing some circle track shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, that shit looks so fun.
It's so. Oh, man. It is the best like dollar to fun ratio you could ever have. It's, you know, some places call it bone stock, pure stock, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like in my free time, sometimes we have an Integra, and the class is no engine change, no transmission change, no VTEC, no ECU change, no springs and shocks changed. You're allowed to add camber in the right front. You're allowed to have a racing wheel, like what they call like a Bassett 15x7, basically in the right front. 400 treadwear tires, alignment basically open, but like almost nothing that you can change, caged. And, you know, we go out there and play with 25 of them on an oval track. And there's such good car count that they have a lot of specials. So we just did one last Saturday night. There was 26 cars showed up, paid $1,000 to win. We were second place on track. The car that won was obviously cheating. It was like way too fast for what it should have been able to be. And he got DQ'd in the tech shed. And an hour and a half after the race, after they tore the top 6 cars to pieces, not actually to pieces, but up on stands, wheels off, checking everything, checking ECUs, we were declared the winner. So it's $40 to race. It's fun to bring the fam out. It's you know, you have to make sure you try to stay out of damage as much as you possibly can, because some of the guys are we'll call them contact racers.
Yeah, right.
But other than that, it's you know, 400 treadwear tires, no power, no springs and shocks, like no sphericals, no nothing, no sway bars, no nothing is pretty cool to see what you can do when you're in this little tiny little box here trying to find some speed.
Sounds like so much fun. There's a lot of like dirt ovals around where I live. There's a lot of guys with like clapped out RSXs and like shit that barely resembles an RSX anymore. But then they'll have like these crazy like built engines in these things that are making like 300 wheel, and it's gnarly. But yeah, I don't know if I was doing other than grid life. Like I've kind of been thinking about what my plans are going forward with like my ClubTR retirement plan, and I'm friends with a lot of guys with like the local NASA Northeast region. I've been thinking about running with them, either doing TT for a year and just trying to save some money and finding like a cage shell. I don't really want to like cage the car that I have now and like bang it up door to door. I think it's like a little cleaner than I'd like to smash up. But if I can get my hands on another,
be like Luke McGrew and don't smash it up.
Yeah,
I'm not that good. But yeah, if I can find another cage shell and just maybe like transfer some parts from my own car and go run in like Honda Challenge 2 or H1 or ST4 or something like that, like it honestly seems more like sustainable just because it's more local and I don't have to travel as much. I could go run NJMP like 3-4 times a year, go to Lime Rock, go to Watkins Glen, you know what I mean? But that's kind of thinking like like 5-year plan from now, but at least like get into some form of wheel to wheel. Because I don't think like I don't have the means or the budget for like GLTC, nor am I like I'd be running at the back and spending like ass loads of money to like run at the back.
Running at the back. This guy over here says he's running at the back.
Fuck out of here.
This guy.
Here we go again.
We set the track record in the TSX, the GLTC track record at the home of GLTC at Mid Ohio. This guy beats me with a very, very optimized car. I'd be running at the back.
Dude, okay, first off, there's a world of difference between a Hail Mary.
Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. You did a 25, and then you did an 08 and an 09, and who knows what else. That's not a Hail Mary, dog. Accept the fact. You're a bad motherfucker.
All right, thank you. I'm not gonna argue with you, but I've watched the laps. I think like your laps in the TSX were like way gnarlier than the laps that I did in my car. I think they're like way closer to the limit, like just no room to spare, you know what I mean? But then there's also a level of racecraft like that I don't have yet. You know what I mean? I think I really need to get in like iRacing and just grind out actually racing instead of just doing a bunch of test laps and just learning tracks and stuff. Like I really need to learn like racecraft.
Is Russ the head man at Acuity? I think it's Russ, right?
Yes.
Russ. Right. If you don't support this guy's quest, if you let him go racing ST4 in the Northeast and you don't support his GLTC quest, I know we're not necessarily really friends right now, but we're definitely not friends then. I'm down to be friends. I think I think we're all in the same circle, but I'm mad at you if you don't support his quest to run GLTC.
Forward this to Russ after this is over.
We'll just take that clip. And
right.
Yep, perfect.
I appreciate that, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
You think it's easy to transition from time attack to GLTC?
If you're willing to
no experience.
If you're willing to iRace every single night for a year, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that Dana's kind of proving that right now?
Dude, look at Dana. He's killing it.
Yeah.
I have no concerns. If this guy right here says, I'm gonna put the effort in, and I'm gonna iRace, maybe not every night, but 3-4 nights a week for sure. When you're gonna go and watch TV in the evening, go down to your rig, run some GT4, run some Miata, run some whatever. Don't run GT3 and P2 and stuff like that. Try to run stuff that like P2 doesn't race like a GLTC car, right?
Yeah,
GT4, TCR, Spec or MX5 Cup, all that stuff. That's like more similar to that sort of thing. Right. And the racing becomes more similar. You do that every night, 3-4 nights a week for a year with your pace that you have, you're coming out. There's none of this at the back thing. I would be shocked if you weren't top 10 immediately.
I feel like it's a stretch, but I'll take your word for it.
I mean, Dana's doing it, man. Dana's what, top? You got 15
8
or 16?
8th. He started qualified 8th and then fell back from that limp mode.
He had some sort of he had
way.
mechanical in one, but no, he's going to run top 10 all the time. He's going to run top 10. If he doesn't have a mechanical, he's running top 10. There's no question.
Yeah. Whatever that one race was where he like passed like a bunch of people, dude, that was awesome to watch. I
Race
was like
4 at Midwest Fest in the rain.
Yep.
No,
and then
that
he went
one was
off,
crazy.
and then he went off, and then he passed them all back anyways.
Yep. But no, there's one at Mid-O. I think it was 3 or something like that at Mid-O, and he just like, or maybe it was 2. Whenever the race after he had that limp mode and fell back, and he clawed his way back up to where he qualified, and he was just passing motherfuckers like on the outside of like the keyhole and shit. I was like watching that on YouTube, just like fist pumping and clapping. I was like, this is fucking awesome. It's like watching it on the side of the track, you only see like a small portion of what's actually going on, but then watching it from like his point of view was wild. I was hyped.
Yep.
I want to be doing that eventually, but
Final thoughts. I want my final thought.
Yeah,
is anyone old enough to remember forums?
Yes. Absolutely. Wait, Jim, how old are you, Jim?
39. I'll be 40 in a couple of weeks.
You're 10 years older than Fez.
How old do you think I am?
Evan, you're impossible to know.
I think Fez knows. Does Fez know?
Yeah, I do know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it. You got to guess, James.
Yeah,
I'm not guessing.
I just turned 40 in May.
Really?
Yeah.
Guy looks fresh.
It's crazy. No one knows, but yeah, it's wild.
I'd bang for sure. 100%. I'm in.
10 out of 10 would smash.
I'm gonna try to take his what is it from the Space Jam movie? I'm gonna try to take his feel if I can get some of his speed. You know when they like bottled up their like ability to play basketball? I'm gonna try to bottle up some of that ability to go 34-0 at Mid-Ohio.
And Grid, Adam was like, "Why does his hair look so good?" And you like touched my hair, and you're like, "I think I got speed now."
I went faster, just not enough. Final thoughts. Back in the forum days, there used to be one little emoji, and it was this like little cute, like yellow happy face guy, and he'd have the little sign calling you out. This is to all the rear wheel drive cars in ClubTR.
Let's go.
Calling you out. Let's go. We want to see it. Sorry, Fez, but we're calling you out.
We'll try for sure. Yeah, we'll try to keep up, but no promises.
You got to send that emoji over. I don't know. I haven't seen that.
I don't know if it's. I wonder if it's still like even like in existence anymore. Like this is like from 15, 18 years ago.
I've seen it.
I'd have to go and pull it up.
Super, super, super basic.
It's like a smiley face guy with like a banner, and he's just holding a banner, bouncing up and down.
Emojis before emojis, but
and I think he has like both hands on the sign. He's like holding it like this, just like a regular yellow smiley face guy. And his little sign said "calling you out," and he was holding it with both hands.
Those are the best. They need to like port those over to like Instagram or something, so like we have those in the modern era.
I want the old stuff. Why does this stuff have to die? Like it's so depressing. But I think as far as the rear wheel drive guys go, they've got to there has to be some header development. There has to be some intake manifold development. There has to be some I don't know how the FRS gearbox works. If there needs to be if you can change an individual ratio, but Fez, you and I were talking about if you could change just sixth, you could shorten it up and be massively improved. So things like that, it's all the small little things that make some of these front wheel drive cars from very good to great. And I think it takes some time for that to trickle down into some of these newer platforms, but I'm not going to get into that. I could go so far. I could go for another hour easy. And I know we're already over.
We can end the podcast and then actually, no, I think that we have a lot of rear wheel drive listeners on the podcast. So we would like to learn a little bit. So are you guys okay? Continue for another 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I have all the time. All
right. So I know we discussed maybe shortening the sixth gear and going to a shorter final drive to match similar gearing to your Civic, right? I think it's doable, but a lot of this GR86s, FRSs, and whatnot, there's not a lot of intake manifold development. There's header development, but there was one company that had a really good header, and then they went out of business because someone copied them, and then the person that copied them, their their header was cracking and breaking all the time, but the original company that designed it was getting blamed for it, and eventually they shut down. So there's a lot of like issues with that are happening, but the FA24 the heads don't flow very well, and you can see at the top like the power starts dropping off at the top of the RPM. How do we mitigate that without like changing heads or like porting out the heads and whatnot? I don't know. That's something that it's at the point where I've done all the bolt-ons. Everyone has done all the bolt-ons. Now we're down to the nitty-gritty of maybe testing and designing parts ourselves.
But like Evan, 10 years ago, when you started doing K-swap stuff all those years ago, no one was putting a Skunk 2 Ultra Series on a stock engine. Oh my God, you're gonna lose way too much mid-range.
Yeah, it's too big.
And then they put them on and they don't lose any mid-range. And it's like, what's going on here? Like you overlay an RBC to a Skunk 2 Ultra Street with a plenum spacer on it, and it like might lose 2 at 4,000 RPMs, but they're not like actually losing anything. And if you're at 4,000 RPMs in a ClubTR car, or you're revving 8,500, you're doing it wrong, dog. Like you're doing it way wrong. You do not go 4,500 RPMs under, right? So like even your car, Fez, like you say about the your fall off of your power, but like if you figure that thing will survive another 300 RPMs higher, and if you look at that dyno, like where it peaks, where it rolls over, you got to work both sides of that. And I feel like so many other engines other than K24s, they don't work both sides of their peak near enough. Even Evan doesn't, but he's a bad motherfucker, so he doesn't have to.
Hey, I got the intake manifold. I just don't have the plenum spacer. I'm revving at 8,500, so I can't do much more.
You said you were revving it low at Gingerman. Did you spice it up in Mid-Ohio a little bit?
I had to short shift. Well, I was short shifting at both spots. I have the rev limit set at 8,500, but my synchros are giving me some hell, man. Like 5th and 6th, like I have to throw 5th early, or seen it.
Carbon or OEM?
Not OEM. There's a brass 5th, and then an OEM carbon 6th. And then
gotta be OEM Honda. Like we have played with all that stuff. It like has to be OEM Honda. Like if you want to ask every single thing, like people always comment on my shifts. If you want to ask like dog box shift times from a synchro, like it has to be an OEM Honda synchro.
And how do you find them without buying a full gear set? Like
you can order the synchros
separately. You can.
Yeah. Well, third, fourth, I think is like you have to buy it with one side of the third gear. Like it's like hub, sleeve, and synchro.
Yeah.
But like they last for a long time if you get an OEM Honda stuff. And then the second thing that's very important and could be even important for the rear wheel drive guys, I don't know what cars are available and what cars are not for. I was sponsored by Exedy for a long time. I am no longer. The people that were there moved and different, and the people that came in I wasn't necessarily as interested in working with. But an Exedy Hyper single is it. It is it. The clutch disc weighs nothing. Everyone wants a light flywheel. A light flywheel has nothing to do with fast shifts. A light disc has to do with fast shifts because it's all the inertia of the disc that the synchros are trying to cope with. You take all that weight out of that, and now you can shift gears. And everyone's like, oh, you're so good at shifting gears. It's a really good working shifter box. It's a fresh Honda Synchro that's not scratching, and it's a really, really light clutch disc. And that's how you shift gears fast. I used to be like 15, 18 years ago, I used to get given a hard time because I was terrible at shifting. We used to play at the drag strip quite a bit. And I was like, have a hard time getting it into gear sometimes because I was, I don't know, maybe overly excited or whatever. You stack the deck in your favor and you will shift gears faster than anyone else. You have a heavy disc in there. I remember when we first did the Hyper Single and the Integra back in 2016 is when I like first created that relationship. And we took a Clutch Masters FX 400 out. The disc weighed 2.5 pounds. We put the Hyper Single in. The disc weighed just a hair over a pound.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That is significant. So it's all the little things. And when you're looking at a lap in ClubTR where you're like digging your absolute deepest you've ever dug to find half a tenth and stuff like this, I'm like kind of naturally shift faster than maybe most would. I was consciously thinking about every shift after Evan put me into P2 at Mid-Ohio. I was like, can I ask another, 1/1000th of a second out of this shift? And, like, I didn't feel like there was hardly anything left after that 27. Somehow I managed to go a 17, and I didn't feel like I did anything drastically different. But like when you're trying to find this last little bit, if the synchros, the clutch, the shifter, all that stuff is working absolutely perfect, you will find time there.
Yeah, I think that's where the rear-wheel drives are at right now. I think the front-wheel drive cars have the gearing at least figured out, and they have years of development underneath them. The rear-wheel drive cars are newer, like the platforms are newer. There needs to be more companies out there that kind of developing into that level. And I think once that gets there, it could be a good platform.
So as far as like the drivetrain loss goes, I mean, there's more you guys can do to like mitigate that or at least decrease that with like a drive shaft, whatever else, right?
Yeah.
Carbon drive shaft from Drive Shaft Shop would be, knock on wood, the one that's been in the Time Attack Evo that I've driven sometimes. That's like I always was like, carbon drive shaft. The car made 870 wheel, and it doesn't get driven all the time, but that shaft has been in there since 2019. So I don't think it says you can't do a carbon drive shaft in ClubTR. So
yeah,
if you're trying to find everything, it's probably a thing.
Yep, I think carbon drive shaft, better motor mounts, diff mounts as well can help with the little bit of drivetrain loss. I don't know how much beneficial it is, but as you guys said, like we're fighting for tenths.
Yeah. How heavy is the flywheel on those cars?
I don't know.
So if they make a hyper single for it, that's a whole kit, right? Like replaces the flywheel, clutch, and everything like that. So if they have that available, and you're looking for, you're looking to mitigate some of this, Fez, that's like that's a real thing.
I think that might be the route to take next year. But for this year, we're gonna bring it as is.
If they make a drive shaft and a hyper single, rather than trying to like spend your own money on like intake manifold development, right? That might be like in terms of lap time just as much or more. So something to think about.
For sure. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on board. Lots of knowledge was dropped. The biggest knowledge being Evan McLaren is a bad motherfucker. And hope to have you guys on again. If you guys want to ever come on, don't hesitate. Just feel free to reach out. I know James kind of mentioned he wanted to be on the podcast, and I was like, let's do it. We got to invite Evan on there as well. So really, really excited to have you guys on there. Thank you guys so much for coming on. And that is the podcast for today.
Thanks, dude. It was fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for everybody else, real quick, I'll just be sure to link all their socials into the post. So if you want to follow Evan or follow James, their socials are down below.